Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. It's been a while. I know. I've just been taking a break just for a lot of things. Thinking about life. It's been almost be about 1 year since I graduated. Coming up 2 weeks from now. Not really 2 weeks. 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks from now. It'll be around 1 year since I've graduated. You know, and there's a lot of things that come with that. Graduation, in and of itself, is such a very, very strange thing to do in life. You you don't really. I think I talked about this before, but you don't really uh, understand what it's like when you graduate because most of your life you're told to just keep going and keep going and going and going and going and going and going and going. And it's almost like how we think about life in and of itself. Life in a way is a metaphor of like going to college, if that makes any sense. We're just told when we're birthed, we're flung out into the world of education, and in kindergarten we're just told, oh well, once you get through kindergarten, you got to go to elementary school. You go to elementary school, and they say, okay, next up is high school, and you go, okay, next up is high school, and then you ask what's after high school. They go, oh well, after elementary school, they say middle school, and then after middle school is high school. After high school is college, and then after that, you know, you're fucked, I guess. I don't know. You ask them what's after that, they just say, oh, well, you get a job and you go and you work and one day you die, right? And life is kind of like that. You're told from the beginning that you have, this set plan for the rest of your life that you're supposed to figure out, this sort of set path that you go on. And you're told, oh, what happens after this time stage of life? Oh, you go to college. And after you go to college, you graduate, and then it's all on you. And they don't tell you what it's like for it to be all on you. Some parents, some people will, understand what the after college period is like, what happens after you graduate and what happens after everything's sort of done and tired and over with, And they don't tell you how absolutely mortifying it is, I remember your first taste of freedom is really in college because you don't really understand. It's the taste of what comes after. It's a taste of the end of this stage of your life. And it's the age where you realize you can eat chocolate, ice cream, all alone, and no one will judge you. I remember when I was in college, the first college I went to, I had like hamburgers and fries and ice cream every single day that I was in college. And it wasn't like a scoop ice cream. I would usually have like a whole pint of ice cream because, you could just fucking do that, You could just eat ice cream and no one would be around to judge you. And that's certainly a freedom of growing up, is realizing you can do things and, without supervision, do things without oversight. It's the small things in life that you can control. You get that little bit of control, but they don't tell you the responsibility of what happens after you do that. You can eat all the ice cream that you want, but no one has the ability to tell you to stop doing that because you'll get fat. You're just supposed to intuitively know what calories are. You're supposed to intuitively know what this does and what that does, They tell you, like people tell you, oh, getting a credit card is easy, but no one really tells you what you do once you get it, This unlimited power that exists and you get to control it, and you're told, oh man, that's so awesome, that's so cool, I get this credit card, I can just charge what I want and pay for it later, and it builds up my score, and I can do this, that, and the third. But then what, Then you get the consequences, and a lot of people don't tell you about the consequences of what you do when you get a credit card. You don't think about the interest. It's like in college. There are a lot of people who spend their time in college getting prepared, and then even those people who do get prepared are like, they come out of college and they realize all the prep that they've done in college prepares them for absolutely nothing. Because honestly, if that were true, if college did technically prepare you for everything, then what would be the point of any of it, What would be the point of just high school? Why not just go straight to college if college teaches you everything and supplies you with everything that you need to know? Why can't all schools be like colleges, if college teaches you everything? And it doesn't. I think that sometimes college gives you this sort of false sense of being, if that makes any sense. It gives you this false sense of this is what the real life is like, This is what the real life is like, and you go, oh, well, that's easy. And then you graduate, and then real life actually happens, and you realize what college really was a very rose-tinted simulacrum of what you were supposed to be doing. And at that point, you're kind of fucked, Because you weren't ready. I wasn't ready, I guess, I remember when I was in college, I was thinking about moving out of my parents' home because I was just going to get a job because, you're told, A to B to C, right? Graduate college, get a job, save up the money, find an apartment, maybe with a roommate. Maybe the roommate's cool, maybe it's not, doesn't matter. But once you get that roommate, that means you have proceeded in this rites of passage that is postgraduate life. And then after that, you get the house, then the world is your oyster, right? And it turns out that that's not exactly the case at all. It's actually pretty far from the fucking case, You sort of exist in the state of being. And when I graduated, I was trying to get into an apartment with one of my friends, and then COVID hit, And with COVID, I think that there's a lot of shit that proves that, life that we were living, the post, even the Trump administration, technically, that life we were living, the normal we sought to go back to, can just be fucking taken away. Because in the end, the universe is so random and chaotic, and it's a giant fucking lottery machine that some insane being is pulling all the time, that, it just doesn't factor in your perception of getting an apartment with friends, Maybe one day you strike gold and you get a lot of luck at this weird fucking cosmic lottery. You play the cards right, you spin the wheel at the exact certain time, and you get all this karmic justice and luck and shit, and you proceed on further. But then there's also the times that it doesn't feel like you are truly winning, or you just keep getting bad luck after bad luck after bad hand after bad hand. And maybe, it's not exactly the worst hand that you could get, but you've had this sort of string of luck so far. You had this whole shit going down. You had the plan, and then the plan goes out the fucking window. And that's sort of what fuels, I think, the worldwide depression that we have. I think, at least my depression, anyways. I've struggled with depression for a very, very long time. I don't think that it. I think it's real, but I think the fucking problem of depression, especially in the African American community, especially in the worldwide community. I wouldn't even say African American. There are white people, Asian people, whatever. The worldwide, the boomer view of depression, right? This old, outdated, fucking jaded version of depression is, oh, well, you're just being sad, you know? Oh, you can do whatever you want, and this world is your oyster, and yet you still feel depressed about it. I don't get that. They say, oh, you can just pick yourself back up by your bootstraps and just do whatever the fuck it is that you want, right? Well, I would say a lot of depression, a lot of self-hatred, a lot of doubt, it doesn't work that way, Oh, man, imagine if depression was solved by just not being sad. Imagine if the world's problems were just solved by not doing this certain thing. Because saying things like that is undermining the human condition, Oh, well, that's like saying, I could get all A's in college if I just, didn't, if I just said I did the homework, Oh, it says like, oh, I can just get all this shit because I can. Oh, I can be rich just by trying hard enough. Poor people aren't poor because of socioeconomic circumstances and the human condition and just being shit on by fucking people over and over and over again. And this world, this capitalistic fucking world, is just built on this insatiable fucking machine that just grinds people down. No, poor people are poor because they have this mindset. Poorness is just a mindset, Depression is just a mindset. Everything is just a mindset. And as long as you aren't in that mindset, everything is fucking fine. Right? So, moral of the story is I don't do a lot of shit. I don't do a lot of shit because of depression. I don't think, or at least some unmedicated condition. I would even say like ADD sometimes makes it worse, but depression, that's the fucking pits, man. Depression is something, for those of you who don't understand it, I guess, is the feeling of being eternally alone, like cosmically fucking alone. And the more you try to chase not being alone, it almost makes it feel like that more like empty, It's like staring into it's like trying to get closer to a black hole, I guess. Like, the closer you get to it, or the farther you get away from it, or like looking. Actually, black hole is probably a bad version. It's like Google Maps. You ever gone on like Google Maps and like gone on your street and you zoom out, You zoom out of Google Maps and it becomes like more and more and more bigger, right? And there's you and that's your house, and you keep zooming it out. And the more you zoom out, you go like, oh, there's the neighbors, there's the immediate people I look around with. And then you zoom out more and you see, oh, this is Illinois. I can see the whole of Illinois. And then you zoom out, you can see the America, and you see the world, and then you see, fucking the galaxy. I don't know. You keep zooming out and you zoom out more and more and more and more and more and more until you realize, this infinitesimal speck in the galaxy called Earth, That's what it kind of feels like to have depression, to constantly seek, happiness by buying into consumerism, by buying into drugs, sex, rock and roll, whatever, going into communities that give you this feeling of happiness, but are in fact very dangerous because they don't actually teach you anything. And I've had that happen before. Online communities that are very dangerous, but they suck you in because, people, it's not because people are generally evil. I'll say that. Some people are generally assholes, generally evil, but some people just feel like they want a community, because we all have this feeling that we're supposed to belong to something. And the more you get into a community and the more you zoom out and you see all the people, you still get that feeling like you're still that one speck in that Google map, that no matter how many friends you say you have or people or even acquaintances that you say you have, they don't exist as much behind yourself, that you're still just this small, infinitesimal part of life, You look at this thing and you're just like, God, I've been trying to for a while, ever since I bought a new computer, by the way. I bought a new laptop. I'm still using the old laptop for recording just because it's got shit on it. But I bought this new laptop for the goal of streaming and the goal of, just streaming and making YouTube videos. But then there's a point that I always get to, and it's very difficult and it's very frustrating. And I look at the video and I'm like, man, I really don't get it, This drop in the bucket project, this podcast, this YouTube video I'm making, it's not gonna, you feel like it's small, Not that it doesn't matter. It might matter to get the product finished. Yes, it's a good thing to get the product finished, but it's not, it doesn't matter, People grind at this for years and years and years on end. Just like they grind in college for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. You can grind as much as you want to, but will it even generally matter? Because I've seen people in the fucking theatrical community, in the artist community that grind for years and years and years and years, and they just get this small following that barely pays the bills. And they're very nice people. And it makes you wonder at some point, does it matter? Do I matter? Is it fucking fair that people who put a lot of work and effort into something get nothing and are only jumped on by people who get on a trend early? But on the other hand, it posits that maybe the viewership doesn't matter. Maybe the viewer count doesn't matter. Maybe you get 20 people in a Twitch stream a day. Or you get like maybe 10, 11, 12 views a day. Maybe people don't listen to your podcast. Maybe you get 20 people, 100 people. That's not a lot, but it's a lot. It's 100 more than you had before. Why? Does that 100 views, do those 100, 200 views make you more popular or less popular than the other person? Does it matter if your shit gets like 5 likes versus someone's 120,000? Most people would say no, it doesn't. What matters is the connections that you make with people. But at the same time, it does suck, doesn't it? Some way it does suck. You look and you feel like you put all this effort in, and you look at someone else who makes maybe less effort than you, maybe more effort than you, but you don't know. This is a lot of perception in there. He might put more effort in you, but it just sucks sometimes. It's soul crushing. And it makes you feel smaller. Because depression is always about this unknown entity in your mind that just makes you feel infinitesimal, that makes your biggest achievements still feel small, you know, that makes your greatest failures that larger, that makes it feel like you can't change, no matter how hard you try, you know. And we've had 365 days of this COVID shit, you know? 365 days of just grinding this shit out constantly. Excuse me. And it's just now that things are starting to kick in, you know? That it's possible that it's not going to matter, or it may matter, or maybe things I should have done before, I should have done earlier, sooner, whatever. I don't know. As a voice actor, do I just keep auditioning for things? I do. I try to vet the criteria, but sometimes auditioning sucks. Because on a bigger scale, I quit theater because of auditioning, in a way. I hated the feeling of, as I said in an earlier episode, being this guy that, in a way, I mean, sure, they say it's not about you when you don't get an audition or you don't get the spot, but there is still a feeling of it being you, you know. Sure, it's not that you didn't get the part because of X, Y, and Z, but it certainly didn't help that you were X, Y, and Z, you know. It didn't help that you were not the average looking person in a show. It didn't help that you don't fit this criteria in any category or check off the certain boxes that make a quote unquote marketable African American male in theater, or even a male in theater, you know, because society has dictated there's a certain space that you fit in or you don't, you know. You either fit in this certain zone, this certain sphere of being, you know. You fit into this category that is African American male in his 20s, and there's a certain look that comes with that, and I certainly don't look like that. You know, I don't look like any African American male you've met ever. And that's kind of the problem, or kind of the solution. But it's also a difficulty, because it just means you fight harder and harder, and fighting harder and harder just kind of sucks. You know? It's making a progress, climbing the wall of China, only to see that there's like another bigger wall behind it. Or scaling Mount Everest, to find that there's a super Mount Everest right behind it, and you gotta climb that, you know? A lot of liberal arts, a lot of creative arts, a lot of what we do, and a lot of what people do, I don't even think it's just in the creative arts, is trying to learn to pick up the pieces and continue on. And while it's very hard to do that some days, it's very hard to pick up the pieces, because you wonder how are you going to tweak this shit for the next part, you know? This, of course, is not really a cool conversation to have, I guess, but it is a meditative one. I guess, like, this doesn't feature any chillness or anything like that to get you get your mind feeling happy, but it's certainly stuff to think about because honestly, it's very hard being positive, you know? Because it's a game that your mind has to play constantly to see the happier side of things. And it is certainly the world's hardest fucking like logic puzzle to be on the upside of everything all the goddamn time. You know? So it's just even harder because of COVID, even harder that it's almost coming up to 1 year of graduation and I still feel like I know nothing. And everyone else is knowing more than me in some aspects. You know, I feel like I suffer from depression, but do I fit into the medical category of depression? You know, do I fit into this category where it classifies itself as a mental illness? And if so, you know, you would know. I'm very outgoing off of this, you know. I'm very a happy looking dude, but it's very hard when you get home to keep up that energy because all my energy goes to presentation. All my energy goes to making things better and being an optimist, but no one thinks about the second part of an optimist where they just, you know, take off the Iron Man suit and you get alcoholic Tony Stark underneath, you know. This other side that completely sucks, you know. I've also been trying to start some tabletop games. You know, increasing my social activity might help, but again, not everyone is available for that. Not everyone is ready for it. Everyone just kind of is on their own thing. Everyone is still dealing with COVID in their own crazy ways. Some people are trying to find jobs, and those jobs just kind of aren't there. Or their family members are doing things that they love and just getting to know each other. So I can't blame other people for not wanting to, you know, sit down and play tabletops because it's not their bag, I guess. It's not their happy bag, you know. You got other things to deal with, you know. So I get you. I feel you and I understand. But in a way, I guess it's still hurts in a way. I don't think, not like it hurts in the sense that it's a rejection of me. It just hurts that like it didn't happen, you know. The FOMO. So my question to you is, if you've deciphered all these riddles that is this podcast episode of this episode of CCC, what do you think? Personally, myself, I feel like I'm going to try maybe some self-medication. I've heard CBD helps. I don't fucking know. But I'll try it. You know. What are your coping mechanisms? How do you live your life? And then the next time we meet again, maybe I'll have found a mechanism. Maybe something will turn up. I mean, next week is Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, so that's good. That's a phase of my life over with, you know, waiting for Cyberpunk 2077. Anyways, you guys have a great, beautiful, and lovely day. This video is not sponsored by Ridge Wallets, but, you know, maybe one day it will be.